The Galactic Empire challenged Earth's fleet and discovered secrets best left hidden. Hayes stood in the control room of the defense station orbiting Earth. The warning came at 0300 hours. Enemy ships were coming, a lot of them. The scanners showed over 200 warships appearing from jump space, and more were coming through every minute. The commander of the Galactic Empire had sent a message. Earth had 24 hours to surrender. There would be no negotiation. There would be no discussion. The message was clear and cold. Surrender or die. That was the choice the Empire offered to all worlds that could not fight back. Was 50 years old. He had spent his entire life in the military. He had trained for war, but he had never expected to fight an enemy this large. The Earth Defense Force had 50 ships. The Empire had 247. The odds were impossible. Every report from the other stations said the same thing. They could not win this battle. They could not even slow down the enemy fleet. But had received a secret order 2 hours before the Empire's message arrived. Admiral Hall was awakening the hidden fleets. Humanity had been preparing for this day for 50 years. The weapons they had built were not supposed to exist. The ships they had hidden were not supposed to fly. But humans had learned how to bend time itself, and they had stolen technology from the future to save the present. The officers around worked their stations. Sarah was young, maybe 30 years old. She had been born after the last big war. She did not know fear because she had never known real danger. But now danger was coming, and she moved through her job with calm efficiency. Her hands did not shake. Her voice did not waver. James Cooper sat at the weapons station. He was a man in his 40s with showing in his dark hair. He had lost friends in the small wars of the past 50 years. He had seen combat before. When he looked at the enemy fleet on his screen, something hard moved behind his eyes. He wanted to fight. He wanted to make the enemy pay for coming to Earth. The first wave of enemy ships descended toward Earth's outer defenses. They came fast and confident. The Empire had conquered 1,000 worlds. They did not believe Earth would fight back. They did not know that humans were different. Humans had learned to sacrifice everything for the people they loved. Gave the order, the Earth Defense Force struck first. The enemy warships had never encountered weapons like this before. The first Imperial destroyer exploded in a burst of blue light. Then another. The Empire's weapons were powerful, but Earth's weapons were older. They came from the future, from a time when humans had learned to tear apart atoms with their minds. The Empire's ships started to burn. But the Empire had many ships. For everyone that fell, 2 more appeared. The battle raged across Earth's orbital space. The sky over continents lit up with weapons, fire, and explosions. People below watched their world shake. They did not know if they would live to see the sun rise again. On the defense station, watched his own fleet take damage. The USS Dakota took a hit to her main reactor. The crew started evacuation procedures. James Cooper did not let his emotions show. He kept working. He kept firing at the enemy ships. His friends were dying, and he fought harder because of it. Then something changed. The scanners lit up with new signals, hundreds of new signals. The hidden Earth fleet was emerging from deep space. These were not old ships. These were not the ones the public knew about. These were vessels that should not exist, ships that had been built in secret from technology no one was supposed to have. The hidden fleet moved with purpose. The first hidden ship was called the Prometheus, and it was massive. It was 3 times the size of any Earth ship anyone had ever seen. When it opened fire, an entire section of the Empire's fleet disappeared. The destruction was complete and terrible. The Empire's commander realized something was wrong. The calculations had all been wrong. Earth was not weak. Earth was not defenseless. Something had gone very wrong in the intelligence reports. Felt something change in the control room. The fear was gone. The impossible odds were starting to turn. The hidden ships were winning. For the first time since the Empire's message arrived, believed that Earth might survive. But even as the battle turned in Earth's favor, understood the cost. The ships burning in orbit were carrying his people. Families were losing fathers and mothers. Children would grow up without parents. The cost of survival was always high. The cost of freedom was always paid in blood. The Empire's fleet started to pull back. The commanders realized they could not win. They had underestimated human determination. They had underestimated the human willingness to sacrifice. The Empire had conquered worlds that surrendered without a fight, but Earth was different. As the last enemy ships jumped away from Earth's space, allowed himself a moment to breathe. The battle was over. Earth had not fallen, humanity would survive, but the war was just beginning. The Galactic Empire had now seen that Earth could fight back, and they would not make that mistake again. Sarah looked at with tears in her eyes. She had lost friends today. So had everyone else in the room, but she was alive. Earth was alive. The blue world spinning below them would continue to turn. The people there would continue to live. James Cooper checked his weapons one more time. The battle was over, but the fight was not done. There would be more coming. The Empire would come back with a bigger fleet, but now everyone would be ready. Now everyone would know that humans could stand against anything. Now everyone would understand that Earth was not defenseless. Made a report to Admiral Hall. He told her about the damage. He told her about the losses. He told her about the victory. The Admiral listened without speaking. When he was done, she gave him new orders. The hidden fleet needed to move. The Empire would be back soon with reinforcements. The next battle would be even harder. The hidden arsenal. Hall was deep beneath the Pacific Ocean in a command bunker that most people on Earth did not even know existed. The walls around her were made of reinforced steel and concrete. The bunker could withstand a nuclear explosion. It could protect people from any weapon the Empire had ever used. It was built to keep the leaders alive while the world burned above. But did not want to survive alone. She wanted Earth to survive. She wanted humanity to have a future. That was why she had dedicated her entire life to building the hidden fleets. The screens in front of her showed the battle raging above. Defenses were holding, but barely. The Empire's ships kept coming. The reinforcements kept arriving. Watched as friendly ships turned into burning debris. She watched as good people died doing their duty. Beside her stood David Mills, her tactical coordinator. David was in his 50s, with a face that showed the weight of many hard decisions. He had spent 20 years building the hidden fleet. He knew every ship, every weapon, every soldier who would fight and die in the coming hours. David spoke without emotion. He was reporting numbers, pure data. The first wave of Empire ships would break through the outer defenses in less than 30 minutes. The second wave was already forming up in deep space. If waited much longer, the Empire would have enough ships in orbit to destroy the bunker and everyone inside it. Understood what she had to do. She had to activate the hidden fleet. She had to bring out the weapons that should not exist. She had to reveal the truth that humanity had been hiding for 50 years. She picked up the communication device. It was time. She gave the order that would change everything. Across the solar system, hidden stations began to activate. Ships that had been sleeping in darkness started their engines. The technology inside these vessels was not human. It had come from a place and time that no one alive could fully understand. Some of the younger officers in the bunker had heard rumors about time travel, but knew the truth. The weapons and the ships were real. They had come from a future where humanity had survived and learned to manipulate time itself. On the screens, watched as the first hidden ship emerged from behind Mars. It was huge. The Prometheus was larger than anything the Empire had ever built. Its weapons systems came alive, and suddenly the Empire's fleet started to burn. David Mills allowed himself a small smile. The Empire believed it was invincible. The Empire had conquered 1,000 worlds. The Empire had never seen a weapon like this before. Now the Empire was going to learn what it meant to fight against humans. Understood something that the Empire's commanders did not. Humans were not stronger than aliens. Humans did not run faster or think quicker. Humans could not survive in the vacuum of space without protection. What made humans different was something much deeper. Humans would sacrifice everything for the people they loved. This was the secret that made humanity dangerous. The hidden ships kept emerging from their hiding places. One by one, they moved into battle. The Empire's fleet was shocked and confused. Their tactics did not work against these new weapons. Their shields could not hold up to the power of the Prometheus and her sister ships. The Empire was losing. For the first time in recorded history, the Galactic Empire was being defeated in battle. David Mills reported damage assessments. The hidden fleet had lost 2 ships. 1,800 people had died, but they had destroyed 137 Imperial vessels. The math was clear. The Empire was being crushed. Thought about those 1,800 people. She thought about the families they had left behind. She thought about the children who would grow up without mothers and fathers. This was the price of resistance. This was the price of freedom. Humans had to pay in blood and tears to protect their world. The Empire began a fighting retreat. Their ships pulled back. Some moved toward deeper space. Some tried to make one more run at the defensive stations, but it was clear now that the Empire could not win. The hidden fleet was too powerful. The Empire's weapons were no match for what humanity had built. Stood up from her command chair. She wanted to feel victory, but she could not. Too many people had died. Too many families would never be whole again. The cost of winning was always high. The cost of survival was always paid in suffering. David Mills looked at his commander. He understood what she was feeling. They had trained for this moment for half a century. They had built weapons that bent the laws of physics. They had stolen technology from the future itself. But no amount of preparation could make this easy. The communication channel came alive. It was Admiral Hall again. She was receiving a priority message from the Hidden Fleet Command. The Empire was gathering a new fleet. They were bringing reinforcements from deeper in their territory. The battle was not over. There would be more fighting. There would be more death. Gave new orders. The Hidden Fleet would consolidate their position. The outer defenses would fall back. The civilian evacuation would continue. Humanity would prepare for the next wave of attacks. But something had changed. The Empire had shown its weakness. The Empire could be defeated. Humans had proven that they could stand against the most powerful military force in the galaxy, and if humans could defeat the Empire once, they could do it again. Deep in the bunker, Hall made a decision. After this war was over, after humanity had defeated the Galactic Empire, the hidden weapons would be locked away. No one would ever use technology like this again. Humanity would build a better future. Humanity would prove that they were more than weapons and war. But first, they had to survive. The screens showed the Empire's new fleets beginning to move. The war was far from over. Millions of people would die before it ended, but understood something important. Humanity could not be defeated, not because humans were stronger, not because humans had better weapons. The interrogation. Victor Park was in a holding cell on the Empire's flagship. The walls were smooth metal. There were no windows. The light came from strips in the ceiling that never went dark. Time meant nothing in this place. Victor had no way to know if he had been here for hours or days. He had been captured during the second wave of fighting. His patrol ship had taken damage and could not escape. The Empire's ships surrounded him. He had ordered his crew to abandon ship and eject toward Earth. Then he had stayed at the controls long enough for the Empire to capture him instead of killing everyone on his vessel. It was a calculated sacrifice. Some of his crew had made it home. Some had not. Now Victor waited in the cell and tried to stay strong. The Empire would interrogate him. They would try to learn secrets about Earth's weapons. They would try to understand how a primitive species had been able to hurt them. Victor had been trained to resist interrogation. He knew the techniques. He knew how to protect information. He knew how to survive. But he did not know that everything was about to change. The door to the cell opened. A creature walked in. It was tall, 3 meters high, with scaled blue skin and burning orange eyes. The creature's name was Admiral. He had conquered 137 worlds. He had never lost a battle. He had never encountered resistance that he could not crush. Looked at Victor with confusion in his expression. The alien commander could not understand how humans had been able to fight. All the reports said that humans were primitive. The technology they should have was technology from 200 years ago. But somehow they had weapons that were more advanced than anything in the Empire's arsenal. Spoke in a voice that sounded like clicking and hissing. A translation device converted his words into English. The voice was cold and mechanical. Your species has existed on your world for only a few thousand years, said. Our records confirm this, yet you have weapons that we do not understand. You have ships that should not exist. You have defensive systems that are more advanced than anything we have encountered. This is not possible. Victor said nothing. He stared at the wall and waited. Grew angry. The alien commander was not used to being ignored. He had conquered hundreds of worlds. When he asked questions, people answered. When he gave orders, people obeyed. But this human would not speak. Your world will be destroyed, said. Your cities will burn. Your people will be enslaved or executed. Your species will be erased from history, unless you tell me where you obtained this technology. Victor still said nothing. He thought about his sister. She was a teacher. She taught children about the stars. She taught them about the universe and all the wonders it contained. She had never wanted war. She had never wanted violence, but war had come anyway. Ordered Victor taken away. He would return later with new questions. The alien commander had patience. Eventually, the human would break. They always did. Victor was placed in a cell with other prisoners. There were 2 humans and 3 aliens from other conquered worlds. One of the humans was a pilot named. He had been shot down 3 days ago. The other human was a scientist named Rachel. She had been captured when the Empire's ships attacked a research station. Told Victor what had happened so far. No interrogation had been successful. The Empire did not know anything important. The humans had protected the secrets of the hidden fleet. The alien prisoners told stories of worlds conquered without resistance. They said the Empire was invincible. They said all resistance was useless. But then something changed. On the 4th day of captivity, the cell door opened again. A different creature entered. This one was smaller, only 2 meters tall, with skin and intelligent eyes. The creature's name was a medical officer and a scientist, was not interested in torture or interrogation. Wanted to understand. I have been studying your genetic structure, said. The Empire collected samples from all of you. The analysis is complete. The results are impossible. I need you to explain what you know. Victor looked at the alien. There was no threat in his voice. There was only curiosity. Victor decided to listen. Explained what he had found. Humans on Earth were genetically identical to 17 different species that had been conquered by the Empire. The similarities were too great to be coincidence. They were not just similar. They were the same species, the same DNA, the same basic structure. But humans on Earth had developed completely independently. They had never had contact with the other human worlds. They had not received any knowledge or technology from outside their world. Yet somehow they had developed the same basic culture, the same basic morality, the same basic dreams. Victor understood immediately what this meant. Humans had been seeded across the galaxy long ago. Someone or something had placed humans on 1,000 different worlds. And then those humans had been conquered by the Galactic Empire, one by one, until they had been absorbed into the Empire's machine. But Earth had been hidden. Earth had been isolated. Earth had developed alone, unaware of its cosmic family. Looked at Victor with something that might have been respect in his expression. Your people are the ancestors, said. All the human worlds in the Empire trace their origins back to Earth. This is why you fight so hard. This is why you sacrifice so much. You are not fighting for your own survival. You are fighting for the survival of your entire species across the galaxy. Victor felt tears in his eyes. The weight of this knowledge was enormous. The responsibility was crushing, but it also explained why humans were so willing to die. It explained why they would sacrifice everything. They were not fighting for themselves. They were fighting for their brothers and sisters on 1,000 distant worlds. Left the cell, he went to Admiral and told him what he had discovered. The Empire's commander felt something he had never felt before, felt fear. The Empire had not conquered a primitive species. The Empire had tried to commit genocide against the source population of the entire human race. The Empire had tried to destroy the birthplace of a species that was older, deeper, and more complex than anyone had realized. The truth emerges. The news spread through the Galactic Empire like fire through dry grass. Earth was not a primitive world. Earth was not a newly discovered species. Earth was the origin world. Earth was home to the original humans. Every human in the Empire, every conquered world, every enslaved population traced their ancestry back to this blue planet orbiting a yellow star. The Empire's High Command called an emergency session. The greatest military commanders in the galaxy gathered to understand what had gone wrong. How could they have missed this? How could their intelligence be so completely wrong? The answer was simple. The Empire had not missed anything. The Empire had been so focused on conquest that it had never stopped to look back. The Empire conquered worlds and absorbed their people. The Empire had done this for so long that no one remembered what came before. No one remembered that all humans came from Earth. On Earth, in the command bunker beneath the Pacific Ocean, Admiral Hall received reports from her intelligence officers. The Empire was in chaos. The military commanders were arguing among themselves. Some wanted to attack Earth with even more force. Some wanted to negotiate peace. Some wanted to hide the truth and pretend nothing had changed. Understood what was happening. The truth was more dangerous than any weapon. The truth was destroying the Empire from within. She made a decision. She would broadcast the truth to every corner of the Empire. Every human would know that Earth was their birthplace. Every human would know that they came from people who had survived on a harsh world. Every human would know that they were not conquered slaves. They were descendants of warriors. picked up the communication device. She recorded a message that would be sent across the galaxy. She spoke to every human in the Empire. She told them about Earth. She told them about the sacrifice of the people who had stayed behind to fight. She told them that Earth was calling them home. The message was sent. On 1,000 conquered worlds, humans heard the words and understood the truth. They were not alone. They had not been abandoned. Earth had never forgotten them. Earth had been waiting and preparing. Earth had built weapons that bent the laws of physics to save them. The uprisings began. On enslaved worlds, humans started to fight. They fought with a fury that the Empire had never encountered before. They were not fighting for territory or power. They were fighting for freedom. They were fighting for their home world. They were fighting for Earth. The Galactic Empire, the most powerful military force in known space, began to break apart. Admiral watched from his flagship as his entire military structure collapsed. Worlds that had been under his control for centuries were now in open rebellion. Entire fleets were refusing orders. Military officers were abandoning their posts to return to their home worlds. Understood what was happening. The Empire could not survive this. The truth had destroyed the foundation of everything the Empire had built. The Empire was built on the control of conquered species. But humans were not a conquered species. Humans were the original species. Humans had been the Empire's creators long ago, in a future that somehow had reached back into the past. The paradox was too great for the Empire to survive. Hall received a communication from the Empire's High Council. They were offering peace. They would withdraw from human space. They would grant Earth full independence. They would release all human slaves and free all human prisoners. But they wanted something in exchange. They wanted the truth to be hidden. They wanted the knowledge of human origins to be buried and forgotten. Understood the deal they were offering. If Earth agreed to keep the secret, the Empire would survive. If Earth refused to keep the secret, the Empire would fall completely. Billions of aliens would face chaos and war. Trillions of lives would be disrupted. But had already made her decision. The truth could not be hidden. The truth should not be hidden. Humans had the right to know their own history. Humans had the right to know where they came from. She refused the Empire's offer. The news spread across the galaxy. The Galactic Empire was falling. Worlds that had been part of the Empire for thousands of years were declaring independence. Alien species were demanding representation and autonomy. The entire structure of Empire was collapsing. But something else was happening too. Humans across the galaxy were beginning to organize. They were forming a government that would unite all human worlds. They were creating systems of laws that would protect freedom and prevent conquest. They were building something new. They were building hope. On Earth, Hayes received orders to prepare for the next phase. The battle was ending. The war was beginning. The Empire was broken, but there would be resistance. There would be those who tried to cling to the old ways. There would be conflicts that lasted years. But for the first time in the history of the Galactic Empire, humans had agency. Humans had power. Humans could shape their own destiny. David Mills reported to Hall. The hidden fleet was ready for whatever came next. The weapons were still charged. The ships were still ready. But hopefully they would not be needed much longer. Allowed herself a moment of peace. She thought about Park, the teacher who had never wanted violence. His brother Victor had been released from the Empire's prison. Victor would come home. He would see his sister again. He would tell her the truth about who they were and where they came from. The cost had been high. Millions of people had died. Entire worlds had been damaged, but the price was worth it. Humanity had survived. Humanity had resisted. Humanity had won. The message that had sent across the galaxy had changed everything. It had toppled the most powerful the New Dawn. 1 year after the Galactic Empire began to fall, Earth hosted the first human Congress. The Great Hall in the new Capitol building was filled with delegates from 73 different human worlds. They had come to Earth to establish the foundation of a new civilization. They had come home. Hayes stood at the entrance to the Congress Hall. He was now an admiral in the United Human Fleet. His uniform was new, designed to represent all humans, not just those from Earth. He watched as the delegates arrived. Some were from worlds that had been conquered by the Empire for thousands of years. Some were from colonies that had been established after the original seeding. Some were from worlds that had been hidden and isolated, just like Earth. Park walked beside him. She was no longer just a teacher, was now the representative for Earth's civilian leadership. She had helped write the Constitution for the new human government. She believed that humans should be ruled by law, not by military force. She believed that the future should be built on freedom and choice, not on conquest and control. Victor Park stood with them. He had been released from the Empire's prison 3 months ago. He had not fully recovered from his captivity, but he had volunteered to work as a liaison between the different human worlds. He wanted to help build the new government. He wanted to make sure that what had happened to him never happened to anyone else. Inside the Congress Hall, the delegates took their places. There were humans of every color and background. Some had been born on Earth thousands of years ago. Some had been born on distant worlds light years away. Some had been cloned in laboratories when their original worlds were destroyed. But they all shared the same genetic code. They all descended from Earth. They all carried the same human spirit. Park stood to address the Congress. Her voice was strong and clear. She did not speak like a military commander. She spoke like a teacher, like someone who wanted to make others understand the truth. "We are humanity," she said. "Whether we were born on Earth or on distant worlds, whether our ancestors were seeded across the galaxy millions of years ago or born just a few decades ago. We are human. We share something that no other species in the galaxy possesses. We have the capacity to love so deeply that we will sacrifice everything for those we care about. We have the capacity to build societies that protect the weak and give power to the many instead of the few." Paused, she looked at the faces of the delegates. Some were crying, some were proud. All of them understood what she was saying. "We will not become like the Galactic Empire," continued. "We will not conquer other species. We will not enslave anyone. We will build something better. We will build a federation where humans from every world have equal voice and equal power. We will build laws that protect freedom. We will build a civilization that remembers where we came from and honors the sacrifice that was made to save us." The Congress erupted in cheers. Humans from 73 different worlds stood together and cheered. They were not a unified empire built on military conquest. They were a federation built on shared values and common purpose. Over the next weeks, the Congress established the framework for the new government. They created laws that would protect individual rights. They established a council where representatives from every human world would have equal voice. They created a military that would serve to protect freedom, not to conquer other species. Hayes was appointed as the first commander of the United Human Defense Fleet. He accepted the responsibility with the understanding that he would never again fight an offensive war. The fleet would exist only to protect human worlds from invasion or conquest. It would never be used to attack another species. Hall stepped down from her position of power. She had led humanity through the war, but she did not want to rule in the peace. She believed that the military should serve the people, not the other way around. She appointed as her successor because she knew he understood this principle. David Mills was given charge of the research divisions. He and his team would study the technology that had come from the future. They would try to understand how humans had been able to send weapons back through time. They would work to ensure that no one ever used such power again. The weapons would be locked away. The knowledge would be preserved but never deployed. Victor Park began traveling to the human worlds that had been most damaged by the Empire. He worked with reconstruction teams. He helped build schools and hospitals. He spent his time healing the wounds of war. His sister sometimes traveled with him. Together, they helped humans remember that there was more to life than conflict and survival. 1 year after the Congress, Earth was almost unrecognizable. The cities had been rebuilt bigger and better than before. The population had grown as humans from other worlds came home. Humans who had never seen Earth were finally able to walk under its blue sky and touch its green earth. Stood on a hillside overlooking a beautiful valley, stood beside her. They were both thinking about the future, was thinking about the children who would be born in this new age. They would grow up in peace. They would not know war. They would have opportunities that previous generations could never have imagined. Was thinking about the friends he had lost. He was thinking about the people who had died so that humanity could survive. He hoped that the peace they had created would honor their sacrifice. He hoped that the new civilization would prove that their deaths had meant something. Below them, the valley was green and alive. Humans from different worlds worked together to build farms and homes. They were creating a new society. They were building a future that transcended the boundaries of individual worlds and star systems. The secret that the Galactic Empire had tried to hide was now known across the entire galaxy. Humans were the original species. Humans had seeded themselves across the stars millions of years in the future. Humans carried within them the capacity to survive anything and sacrifice everything for those they loved. The Empire had tried to conquer Earth because they did not know the truth. They did not know that they were attacking the birthplace of their own conquerors. They did not know that humans would fight to the last breath to protect their home and their people. But humans knew. Humans had always known it in their bones. Every human carried the knowledge that they could survive. Every human carried the capacity to love fiercely and fight without mercy when those they loved were threatened. That was the secret the Galactic Empire had discovered too late. That was the secret that had brought down the most powerful military force in known space. And now, in this new age of peace and freedom, humanity would build a civilization worthy of that sacrifice. Humans would prove that they were more than weapons and soldiers. Humans would create art and music and literature. Humans would explore the stars not as conquerors, but as seekers of knowledge and wonder. The future was uncertain. Many challenges lay ahead. But for the first time in their history, humans faced that future together, united, free, home. In the known universe, it had freed billions of enslaved humans. It had given hope to countless others. All it had taken was the truth. And the humans had fought back not because they wanted to. They had fought back because they had no choice. Their survival was tied to the survival of billions of other humans across the galaxy. That was the true secret. That was what made humanity dangerous. And that was why the Galactic Empire would ultimately fail. But for the first time in 200 hours allowed himself to feel hope. Earth had stood against the Galactic Empire and had not fallen. Humanity would fight. Humanity would resist. And humanity would win no matter what the cost would be.